Hey everybody, Professor Victor here, and things are about to get a little bit hairy. It's that time of year, time for us to do our annual franchise marathon, where I take a particular horror franchise and try to watch as many of the entries as I can in a row until I tap out. And this year, you guys have chosen for me the Howling franchise. And I'll be honest, I'm a little excited about this one because, of course, I've seen the first one. Like, it's kind of a classic, and I talked about it on the channel in our werewolves video. But I haven't seen every entry in this franchise. I've seen some of them, but some of these are going to be first-time entries, first-time watches for me, and I'm pretty excited about this. It's something I've been meaning to get around to, finishing out this franchise, and I just haven't made the time for it. And so today's the day. Today is the day that I finally get off my ass and finish this series, or probably more accurately, get on my ass and finish watching this series. So it's going to be a long day today. Let's go ahead and get started with the original now. Well, that was still great. It still holds up really well. I do really like that movie. I do push the American Werewolf in London button, but the transformation in this movie is really on par with that, and it doesn't get enough credit for that. It really is outstanding. The gore effects, the practical effects in this are fantastic. You know, this is the first time I've watched this movie since I've read the book, and people have told me it's not really based on the book, but there are a lot of elements from the book that are in this movie. It's not a straight adaptation, but there's a lot of elements that did show up in this movie that are from the book, so I can see the influence of the book in here pretty well, and it is a good book. It's worth reading. Thanks, Sarah, for turning me on to it. And the movie is still not funny to me. Like, there's funny moments in this, but I know people call this a horror comedy. It does not feel like a horror comedy to me. I feel like they play this pretty straight. I said that, I talked about this in the video, the werewolf video, and I stand by that. I don't see, aside from some moments of levity or humor in here, some characters that say some funny things, this doesn't feel like a comedy to me, and it's really playing it pretty straight. But it is a really cool movie that I think is maybe not overshadowed by American Wolf in London and probably deserves better. But now we're going to go ahead and jump into part two. So I just finished Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. And as you can guess from the title, it's pretty ridiculous, man. It's a bad movie, from the terrible acting to the subpar special effects, the low rent production values, the really horrible editing that just kind of splices random scenes for no good reason into other scenes. The movie is just bad. It's so happy to have Sybil Danning doing a topless scene that it literally repeats that scene like 17 times in the credits. It's just ridiculous. It's got Christopher Lee slumming it here. I don't know how they got him, but they did. And rumor has it that he was so embarrassed by his performance in this movie, or just his presence in this movie. I think you can see it in the performance, frankly. I think you can see how embarrassed he is to be there. And speaking of Christopher Lee, this movie seems like it really actually wants to be a vampire movie with the people rising from the dead and coffins and stakes through the heart and holy water and characters named Vlad and Transylvania. They're just really borrowing a lot of vampire mythology for this. It's like it doesn't seem like it knows what it wants to be. It's having an identity crisis. The only thing it seems to be sure of is that it really likes that Howling song that they have in the movie. They play that thing over and over again, like a dozen times, even a couple of times live, multiple live performances of this, or multiple shots of the same live performance. The song kind of slaps, man, but after a dozen times of hearing it, you're over it. This movie is a mess. It really is, but it's fun because it's kind of so bad it's good. If you're in the right mindset, you can have a good time with this. Look, I know it's about to get worse. These movies are going to get, not so good as we go on. But I'm hoping that they can still retain this kind of campy, fun value, because this one, I have a good time with this one. Howling 3, The Marsupials. This one is a blast, man. It was directed by the same guy who did the last one. But unlike the last one, where I was saying that the movie had an identity crisis, didn't know what it wanted to be, this one doesn't have that problem. This one is leaning into the camp. It's having a good time. It wants to do something fun. Abandoning the narrative of the previous movies was the right idea. Having a new setting in Australia was a good call. And having these new marsupial werewolves is fun. It's an interesting, fresh idea. And the looking at the werewolves in a more positive, sympathetic light gives the whole thing a fresh spin that I appreciate. So I'm in on this one. And it still has a lot of the filmmaking problems that the previous one had. Like it's definitely got the subpar acting, and the effects aren't very good. They're cheaper. The editing is still really bad, but not in a way where it's like inserting random scenes. This time it's that the scenes jump, the narratively just jump without any explanation. So like there's like a girl running in the woods, and then she's on a bus, and then she's on a park bench, and then she's on a different park bench. We have no real idea of how she got there, or like when the people chasing our werewolf protagonist decide to just stop and take in a ballet, and then come across a new werewolf. No explanation on any of this, but you know what? You don't really care because the movie's here to have fun, and you're having a good time with it. So it doesn't matter. And so the impact of the narrative or the filmmaking problems don't really impact it so negatively because you're having a good time. Now, I know it's about to get worse, and so, it is what it is, but honestly, we're having a really good time right now, so maybe we can keep it going just a little bit longer. All right, just finished Howling for the original Nightmare, and from that title, you'd think maybe it's a prequel, but apparently it's named that because it's actually supposedly a more faithful adaptation of the original novel, as opposed to the first movie, which is maybe a looser adaptation. And having read the novel, I guess that's technically true, but I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like this one is really all that much more closely adapting the novel than the first movie was. I think that a lot of the major plot points in the novel are in both this movie and in the original movie, the first movie. So what happens is this movie winds up feeling a lot like a kind of a pale imitation remake of the original movie. It's just kind of like an inferior version of the first movie, the first film, with subpar, lesser actors, a less talented director, lower budget, and weaker production values. This movie doesn't look very good. Like it's not filmed very well. The camera angles are unimaginative. The lighting's flat. Nothing looks particularly good here. And there's really nothing standout about this. Like I said, the actors are kind of bland, and you've seen a lot of the cool stuff here before. The plot points are going to be familiar. There's a little bit more of a mystery added to this here, but it's not one that's very compelling. It's kind of boring and bland. And then the one standout thing I guess you have is the werewolf transformation winds up being very different. It's more like somebody melting into a werewolf, which is interesting. I don't know that it's cool. It's not, it's cool looking. It's gross, but it's not better than the original's transformation. Not even close. So this one was a bit of a slog to get through, and I knew this was coming. So yeah, we're gonna keep pressing on now. Howling 5, The Rebirth, and that was a bit of a pleasant surprise, actually. Once again, we've got a movie that's not connected narratively to the original for the better. And in this case, they're doing something kind of different. They're changing the formula up a bit. Like they're eschewing creature effects and werewolf action for more of a mystery setting, kind of a more of a whodunit aspect, really, where they've got a group of people who are all invited to this big castle, kind of reminiscent of like House on Haunted Hill a little bit. And then killing starts happening, people start disappearing, and they're trying to figure out who done it, what's going on. And it drew me in. It worked for me pretty well. Like I don't I don't want to oversell it really. Like it's not an amazing movie. There's flaws in it. The acting is hit and miss. Although it's got Blackie from Twin Peaks in there, which is kind of cool. Twin Peaks actors always get the love from me. It's got some shots that are really dark. It's a dark movie. It's sometimes I couldn't see what was going on. That might just be the copy I was watching, but it seemed to me like it was hard to see sometimes what was going on, which is a little bit of a downer. But and I do wish there was a little bit more werewolf action, a little bit more gore and stuff like that. But honestly, even with that, it was still drawing me in. There was some pretty fun characters, maybe a little too many characters, arguably, but the ones that we follow are interesting enough. They're not the most well-rounded, deep characters, but they're fun. And the dialogue was mostly working for me too. The jokes were landing. I was drawn in. I was following this. I was engaged in this. Again, maybe it's the low expectations, the benefit of having the one before being such a drag and kind of a boring slog, that this one, which I had negative expectations for, wound up winning me over. Man, this one actually surprised me and wound up being pretty fun. So now I've got unreasonable expectations for the next one. So we'll see how that goes. Howling 6, The Freaks, and I am pleasantly surprised that these movies are not bad. These later entries that I hadn't seen before, they're actually pretty fun, and I'm enjoying them. It helps that I think, that these movies are kind of all independent. Like, I think we can safely say at this point that this is a werewolf anthology series, and that these sequels have, nothing to do narratively with the entries that come before. And not only that, but they don't even stick to the same werewolf lore that's established previously. Like they have their own rules when it comes to the werewolf mythology, and I think that's a good thing creatively. I think it frees up the writers to kind of do whatever they want to do and tell their own story, and so they're able to kind of get creative and do something interesting and different. In this case, what we've got is a werewolf drifter going into a small town and running afoul of a circus run by a vampire. So we've got that vampire mythology in there that part two wanted to have. We've actually got it officially now. And honestly, vampire versus werewolf is a good place for this series to go in part six. That's fun. Like, vampire versus werewolf is fun, and I was in for that for sure. This actually worked out pretty well. And honestly, this movie is doing pretty good on all fronts. Like, it's a better made movie than some of the other entries. Like, it looks good, it sounds good. The acting is pretty solid, especially Bruce Payne as the vampire. He's a scene stealer. He really is great in this. And the makeup effects are looking really good. This is a fun entry. This is, again, I don't want to oversell things too much. It's not perfect. It's, paced a little slowly. Like, it's some parts that are a little slow. It's a little long. Could use a trim. But honestly, I'm nitpicking it. It's a fun entry. This is, again, it's not gonna blow you away, but I had low expectations going in. This one actually was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this quite a bit. The circus setting, the makeup effects, the vampire was really cool. This one I liked quite a bit. So fingers crossed for the next two. I know we've got two left, and I'd be surprised if they can maintain this quality. But honestly, this is turning out to be a much more fun watch than I thought it was going to be for this series. Howling, New Moon Rising, aka Howling's Part 7. Good lord, man, this series just went off a cliff. Forget about everything I was just saying, because this series took a turn for the worst. This movie is really bad, y'all. This is a strange thing because it is basically a movie that takes place in this small town called Pioneer Town, and it seems like it's just interested in showing the town folk drinking and sitting around telling jokes and cutting farts and playing music and line dancing and just hanging out, and not really interested in having a werewolf in the story. It's barely a werewolf in there. There is kind of a mystery that's set up, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's convoluted, and it's barely being paid attention to because it really just wants to show these people hanging out. And worse than that, it wants to try to do the opposite of what I was just complimenting this series for, which is to tie together all of these disparate sequels that don't have anything to do with each other, and then try to make them one story in like one universe, which causes all these kind of problems because now these things don't make sense. I talked earlier about how they are, not respecting the same mythologies like that, which is fine if it's kind of anthology style, but when you try to make them all connect, it doesn't work. And then, I mean, they're being very overt about this too. They're actually putting footage from those movies into this one. Not to mention footage from this movie in this movie too, like playing scenes again. It's a mess. It's crazy how bad this is. I had to look it up because it was just stunning to me. And it turns out the director just really loves this place, Pioneer Town. He just wanted to make the movie about Pioneer Town and how cool these people are and stuff. And so he's got these locals playing themselves, which kind of explains the really horrible, tremendously bad acting, and also the myriad song performances, live music performances, interludes, and dancing performances that are in this movie. Just a whole bunch of them. It's unreal. It's like somebody tried to figure out how to make a movie I would hate. Like, I feel like personally attacked by this movie. It's like it's trying to antagonize me. And I understand that. I guess Joe Bob Briggs put this on his show, and it's got a bit of a cult following as a result. But I guess maybe it's kind of like The Room in the sense of the quality is kind of like The Room, but without the charm and humor of Tommy Wiseau. That's what it feels like to me. And that's not a good thing, man. This movie was a painful 90 minutes to get through. The best thing I can say about this part of the franchise is that there's only one left. And it can't get worse than this, right? Right. So we finished with The Howling Reborn, aka Howling 8. And maybe it's because the last movie was just so bad, but I actually really enjoyed this one. I had a lot of fun with this one. Look, it's basically the Teen Wolf TV show. You know, it's wearing its Twilight influences on its sleeve. It's got some really implausible dialogue. It's got a cheesy voiceover. It's got some bad CGI. It's got implausible, incomprehensible plot points like a high school that locks down like Fort Knox for some inexplicable reason. It's got problems, man. It's not a good movie, but I still had a good time. You know, it stars Paige from Pretty Little Liars and Riley's wife Sam from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it's already got a little bit of goodwill with me just for that. And the acting is strong. And compared to the last movie and the performances in that, I kind of want to give these guys an Oscar for their acting because it's so miles ahead of that. And what can I say? Like, I bought into the romance of it, and I was enjoying the modern aesthetic, especially again compared to the last few movies. It was welcome to have that modern aesthetic of, you know, good looking film and quality and production values. And I liked the concept of this movie. I don't know that they explored it as well as they could have, but I liked the ideas behind it, and I liked the leads. I thought they had chemistry. So I was having a good enough time. Again, probably managing expectations because I was coming off of seeing New Moon Rising, and that was awful, one of the worst things I've ever seen. So this is probably pretty mid, but it winds up being a much better end to the series than New Moon Rising would have been. So I'm thankful for that. So we wrap up with that one. Not exactly a home run, but I'll take a base hit for an ending. It's better than striking out. So we did it. We got through the entire franchise, the entire series. We got through all of it. And, you know, that wasn't nearly as painful as I thought it was going to be. I hadn't seen all of them, and I was under the impression that they were like diminishing returns, that they got worse and worse as they went on. But that actually wasn't the case at all. There were some of them that I actually enjoyed quite a bit. In fact, I would say that most of these were at least fine, if not actually bona fide good. And there was only two of them that I thought were real clunkers. One of which was, you know, number 7, and it was terrible. And number 4, I didn't particularly care for either. But the other ones I would watch again. I think they were fine. I enjoyed them, and I would recommend the series to you too. If you guys like werewolves, I think this is definitely worth checking out. Obviously, you can skip a few, and not all of them have to connect or do anything. And they're kind of anthology-esque. So the only ones that really need to be connected together are 1 and 2. So you can check this one out, enjoy it, and I think you should. I think this one is worth seeing. Some of these movies aren't that easy to track down. Thanks to Sarah for getting me copies of everything, but it's not the easiest series to see all of them. But honestly, the ones that you can't find as easily are the ones you could probably skip a little bit. But you know, it's fun. I had a good time. I'm thankful for watching this, and I'm thankful that you guys hung out with me to watch it. We're going to do this again next year because it's a tradition, and I'll probably let you guys pick the series again next year too. Thanks for picking this one. Thanks for hanging out to the end. I'll see you guys next year on when we do this again. But until then, class dismissed.